Speaker, I'm very conscious that as you were one of my university students a long time ago, you're expecting a lot of history, but having heard all the remarks so far on the great history, I'm getting rid of that. I haven't even had, I've had some dodgy ancestors, no one's ever been hung, drawn and quartered, or yet. But could I be very personal in terms of my respect and admiration and love for the Queen and my pleasure at contributing to this address on her Platinum Jubilee. I was sitting doing my 11 plus exam in Kennington Manor School in Sunbury-on-Thames, and I looked up from the paper and saw something strange. The caretaker was taking the flag down in a funny way. He was taking it down to half-mast. And so that early memory of mine was the sad time when George VI obviously passed away that night and the Queen became the Queen Elizabeth II. I remember that very well. And of course, all of us have memories of our childhood, the bonfires, and the fun. No one actually said it. I have the privilege, many of us in public life have had the luck of meeting the Queen on several times. And you know, it's the sense of fun that I think that I was most inspired by. I went, early on as a young Member of Parliament, I went to a civic occasion because the President of Brazil was visiting. And I sat there, had a very nice time. The whole royal family was there. There were a couple of speeches. And then there was a melee where people went to get their own coffee. And suddenly I saw this small woman coming towards me and my wife. And she said, you know, hello, I'm the Queen. She did. I think, and I was taken aback that she said, I understand you have 4 children. And we got into conversation. She has 4 children, we had 4 children. What a lovely conversation. And she said, could you tell me one thing? The violinist in the small band, he was wearing an earring on his ear. Does that mean anything special? And my wife and I looked at her in sort of some puzzlement and could not give her an answer. But it's a sense of fun. Every time I met her, there was something quite funny, quite mischievous, but lovely. I was lucky enough to work closely with the Duke of Edinburgh, both on his wonderful work on design and on a Royal Society of Arts and Manufacturers investigation into the future of the English countryside. And that was great joy because we met at the RSA and in Buckingham Palace. So I worked quite closely with him and just was astonished that the close relationship between them and also his sense of fun, because there was a Labour, a Conservative and a Lib Dem Lord on that commission, and he always had some little bit of information to teach you. But when he went to a reception, and we had a wonderful annual reception for a prize, the Duke of Edinburgh's Prize for Design, there would be a lovely party, and the Queen said to me, you know my husband has a secret method when greeting people. He says he shakes them by the hand and sort of swings them away. And so for the rest of the evening, I watched the Duke of Edinburgh with his wonderful way of shaking the hand and throwing you on to the next business. So a sense of fun is something I remember. I also, because I'm a member of Parliament for Huddersfield, they love the Queen in Huddersfield, and we are a very diverse community, much more diverse than when she became Queen. And everybody in our community in Huddersfield loves, adores the Queen. And the Queen has come to our constituency twice, to my constituency, to the town. And those of you who don't live on the railway won't know this, but if the Queen comes into your constituency by train, the mayor greets her and the Member of Parliament is the next to greet her. And the first time she came to Huddersfield, my wife was abroad. And I got in touch with the people organising the Queen's visit and said, would it be all right if I brought 2 of my children instead of my wife? And the message came back, yes, indeed. And so little John and little Verity came along with me to the station, and the Queen immediately stopped because it's quite unusual. All the rest were just all boring middle-aged people, but she had these 2 children that she was delighted to meet and to have a conversation with. So it's those personal things that I remember. So 2 visits to Huddersfield. She was very well received, and again, a great fun. Can I also say, because it is, I don't want to go into too much detail of what we're doing to celebrate in Huddersfield, but we, like the Honourable Lady from Loughborough, we're going to have lots of events. And I indeed can remember some of those events when I was little, of course. I don't want to give my age away, everybody knows it though. I saw my first television in black and white, the coronation service. Although I have to say it was in the next door neighbour's television, not our own. But one thing I do want to remind the House, that one of the special visits to Huddersfield, the Queen came to open Amateur Rugby League Centre. And what better time to remember the opening of the Amateur Rugby League Centre. And of course, those who are not so well up on Rugby League will perhaps not know that Rugby League was founded in 1895 in the George Hotel in Huddersfield. And it was founded because working men in the north of England had to work 6 days a week, and if they played sport, they lost a day's wages. And all the posh people in the south of England who played rugby said that would be disgraceful to give them the extra money that they lost for not working on that day. And in the end, they all met in the George in 1895 and said, we will start a new game called Rugby League, and with 13 in the team rather than 15, and rather different rules. And the only plug I will make, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is for the first time in very many years, Huddersfield are playing for the Silver Challenge Cup this weekend at Tottenham. So that's something that made me think of the Queen's visit. And the last thing I want to say is that we have had really tumultuous times, and we kind of forget them, don't we? We've gone through some really tough times in our country. We've had good moments, but we've had really tough times. We've had tough times when people in this house have not been very nice to each other. There are times when we have, I think, let ourselves down. And the whole country, became very divided on political grounds, in the nasty sense of division. And I think the Queen should be recognised for being that ability to actually bring all those divisions together and be that act of unity. I know that the influence of the Queen over these years, behind the scenes, and I haven't been privy to those meetings with Prime Ministers or anyone else, but I know in my heart that the Queen's influence on calming down when elected politicians fall out, when we become too aggressive, too personal, too unpleasant to each other. She has been that calming influence behind the scenes and sometimes taking a profile in that calming process. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm proud to be here today, both personally and on behalf of my constituents in Huddersfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Barrow.